You had your chance to cut it down, Mr. Karimi. Now I am taking care of this eyesore myself.
Christine, you are making a terrible mistake. This crop is worth more than you can imagine.
The road flare crackled to life, spraying red sparks into the twilight. She tossed the flare underhand, and it tumbled end over end into the dry crocus. The dry leaves caught instantly. A wall of fire rolled across 14 acres.
Stop. You don't know what you are burning. That field is my family's whole world.
It's just weird purple grass. My neighborhood will be better without it.
A column of black smoke rose so high it was spotted from 10 miles out. He collapsed onto the soil, the heat singeing his hair, as 30 years of family sacrifice turned to ash. But the fire here was only the first spark. Thousands of miles away, in a trade office in Tehran, a diplomat's phone was about to ring. 3 months earlier, that same field was a flawless purple quilt. Charles Karimi walked the rows, brushing stigmas with a jeweler's care.
If every flower gives 3 threads, I'll meet the Iranian deadline with weeks to spare.
His farm held the only USDA-licensed saffron export pact with Iran, a rare diplomatic bridge between hostile governments. The certified envelope. Violation: 14 acres of ornamental grass, non-compliant with HOA code. Immediate removal required.
Ornamental grass. That's not grass. It's saffron, the most expensive spice on earth.
He flipped through the HOA rulebook. The ornamental grass section was circled in bright yellow. Someone had been expecting him.
That section was added last month. This isn't a general code. It's a rule written just for me.
The name on the letter, Christine Baldwin, HOA chair. He didn't know her, but she clearly knew his field. He called the management office, got a recording, so he decided to attend the next meeting. He believed facts would settle this. He didn't know the room was already turned against him, or that Christine Baldwin didn't care about facts. The HOA meeting was held in a fluorescent, lit community room. Christine Baldwin stood at the podium, a magenta wool sweater and a smile that didn't reach her eyes.
We have a homeowner growing what looks like a field of purple weeds. It's unsightly and brings down our property values.
That field is saffron, a legal agricultural crop. It's the most valuable spice in the world, and I hold a federal export license.
Spice or weed, it's not in our approved landscape list. The rulebook is clear. Remove it or face daily fines.
Charles opened a botany textbook, showing photos of saffron crocus. The board members barely glanced.
This crop supplies an international trade agreement. It's not about landscaping. It's about diplomacy and my family's legacy.
Christine tapped the rulebook. The board called a vote. 5 hands lifted in her favor. Only 1 abstained.
The board has ruled. You have 30 days to clear the weeds, or the HOA will hire a crew and bill you.
She never even asked what saffron is. To her, it's just foreign. And foreign means a problem.
He walked out into the evening, the rulebook tucked under his arm. 30 days. He didn't know she wouldn't wait that long. He called Christine Baldwin the next day. She cut him off before he could propose a compromise.
This isn't a negotiation. You've already lost. Either the purple mess is gone by Friday, or I'll make sure the fines bleed you dry.
You'd destroy a federally recognized crop over grass height restrictions, over something that doesn't affect a single neighbor.
A property attorney laid out the grim math. HOA litigation could run $40,000 minimum, and the board could stall him for years.
I can't fight a $40,000 war over a crop that nets me $80,000 a year. Not without losing the farm.
The social pressure came faster than the legal threats. A petition materialized at the community mailbox. 23 signatures demanding removal of exotic vegetation.
Exotic vegetation. They can't even write saffron. To them, it's just something foreign that doesn't belong.
Christine called an unofficial gathering in the cul-de-sac. 20 neighbors clustered around her as she held up a road flare, just to make a point.
Our property values won't survive another season of that purple weed. If the board's fines won't do it, we'll have to consider more direct options.
The flare in her hand wasn't lit yet, but the threat was unmistakable. Charles watched from his porch, a cold understanding settling in. She wasn't going to wait 30 days. The morning of October 7th, a dry Santa Ana wind rattled the Saffron heads. Charles felt the brittleness under his boots. A white SUV pulled up. Christine stepped out. Road flare in one hand, 2 neighbors behind her like deputies.
Final warning, Karimi. Clear this foreign weed by sunset, or I'll clear it myself.
This field is my family's legacy, Christine. It's a legal crop sanctioned by 2 governments. You set foot on it and you are committing a felony.
She twisted the cap. The flare screamed alive, red sparks cascading like warning lights. She lobbed it underhand. It arced, landed deep in the dry crocus, and the field went up like newspaper.
No, the corms. 30 years of selective breeding. You don't understand what you've done.
For 1/2 second, Christine's face flickered, not triumph, but the beginning of calculation. She hadn't expected it to spread so fast. Charles fumbled for his phone, dialing 911. The dispatcher said the nearest engine was 20 minutes away. The fire already had a head start. The flames roared over the field. Christine stood frozen, the flare's empty casing still in her hand, the smoke already climbing toward international airspace. By dawn, the field was a black scar. Charles knelt in the ash, sifting through soot with bare hands.
14 acres. 3 decades of selection. A single flare erased what no drought or blight ever touched.
He saw her then, Parvin Karimi, stepping off a Pan Am flight in 1979, a cloth bundle pressed to her chest, the original corm safe inside. The university agronomist arrived by noon. She dug a sample, examined it under a lens, and her expression told him everything.
The export license requires continuous supply. 1 missed season, and the trade channel with Iran closes forever. There's nothing to ship, Ben. The entire harvest is ash. Tell Tehran the contract is gone.
The cancellation letter from Tehran would arrive in 3 days, but Charles already knew what it would say. Force majeure denied. Contract void. An $8 million annual order built over a decade of trust, erased by a woman who called it purple grass.
Every corm held a piece of my grandmother's history, carried across the ocean at great risk. Now it's just carbon.
4 years until the soil could even be replanted. And the unique genetic line, his grandmother's strain, might be lost forever. In a Tehran trade office, the Iranian commercial attaché stared at a 1-line email. Saffron field destroyed. No supply. He closed his eyes and drafted the cancellation. The only legal agricultural bridge between the U.S. and Iran was gone. The official letter arrived at Charles's farm 2 days later. Embossed with the Iranian seal, it said exactly what he expected. Due to catastrophic crop failure and inability to fulfill the annual contract, the order is formally canceled. $8 million. A decade of trust. Erased by a flare and a magenta sweater. The local fire made a 2-minute news segment. But a different kind of fire was starting in Washington. A black government SUV pulled up the gravel drive. 2 State Department officials stepped out, faces unreadable. They told him his farm was a sanctioned trade exception, and the fire was now being treated as diplomatic sabotage.
Sabotage. A federal word for a woman who couldn't tell saffron from grass.
Before they left, they warned him there would be severe consequences. The State Department intended to pursue this to the fullest extent. 3 days after the fire, Christine Baldwin was in her kitchen when a black sedan pulled up outside. 2 federal agents stepped out, badges glinting. They didn't ask to enter. They began talking on her doorstep, and every word made the air thinner. The lead agent looked at her and said, "Mrs. Baldwin, do you understand the term sanctions evasion?"
Sanctions? What are you talking about? It was just weeds. A lawn violation.
The agent handed her a thick document. That weed was worth $8 million a year to sanctioned Iranian trade. You just severed the only legal agricultural bridge. Christine's hands trembled as she scanned the page. The words "sanctions evasion enhancement" appeared 3 times in the first paragraph.
8 million? Iranian trade? I burned weeds. How is this federal?
The agent added, almost kindly, "OFAC will be in touch, and the FBI and possibly the IRS."
They said federal charges. Over a field of flowers. I need you to fix this.
Her lawyer said one word: silence. But the paperwork on her table said the world was only beginning to learn what she'd really destroyed. The IRS audit notice came hand-delivered. A flat-faced agent handed Christine the envelope on her doorstep, then turned without a word.
IRS audit. They're going through every year, every deduction, every HOA fine I ever imposed.
The FBI secured a search warrant for the HOA's records. 2 agents carried out boxes of meeting minutes, violation letters, and a server hard drive. In a forensic lab, an investigator printed a chain of emails spanning 2 years. The subject lines all pointed to one topic: Karimi's foreign weeds. One email read, "We cannot allow foreign weeds to take over our neighborhood. This isn't some immigrant's garden we're dealing with. It's a statement."
It wasn't ignorance. Every complaint, every smirk in that meeting. She picked me because I carried something from another country.
An FBI agent placed the evidence in front of Charles. "Mr. Karimi, these emails suggest a pattern. We need your testimony to pursue a hate crime enhancement."
I'll cooperate. Everything I have, my grandmother's story, the corms, the contract. If she burned us because of hate, the world should know.
Christine's accountant called in a panic. The IRS was auditing every return, and the FBI had flagged her bank accounts for disclosure review. The federal net was closing. Every new piece of evidence confirmed a pattern. But the deepest proof, the seed that linked Charles's field to his grandmother's sacrifice, still lay buried in the ash, waiting to be unearthed. A week after the agents left, Charles returned to the ash with a trowel. The metal tip struck something hard. He unearthed a rusted metal box. Inside, an old passport, a folded letter, and a brittle cloth bundle. He unfolded the yellowed letter. It was written in his grandmother's Farsi, the ink still legible after 40 years. She wrote, "In my pocket I carry the corms. They are the heart of our village, gone now except for these seeds. Never let them be erased."
She walked through revolution checkpoints with these in her pocket. A woman and a handful of bulbs, carrying a stolen legacy.
He opened the bundle. Inside were 5 dried corms, black with age but uncrushed. The original Saccharomyces sativus, his grandmother's strain.
Christine didn't just burn a crop. She burned a bridge between nations, a living heirloom that survived a revolution.
He found a photograph inside the passport. Parvin Karimi, 1979, stepping off a plane with a cloth bundle pressed to her chest.
She trusted American soil, and a woman in a magenta sweater erased that trust in 60 seconds.
He closed the box and pressed it to his chest. The letter's last line echoed, "These flowers are my heart. Protect them." Charles spent a week comparing genetic sequences. The screen showed a lineage no lab had ever catalogued.
The strain matches no known cultivar. It's a ghost genome from an erased village.
A historical article described Day Esork, raised in 1979. Only one survivor escaped with corms, Parvin Karimi.
She didn't just carry seeds. She carried an entire extinct ecosystem in her pocket.
He called a crop geneticist. The professor's voice shifted when he saw the DNA markers. The professor's email. Your corms are a living fossil. The line is lost to the world, except here.
Christine didn't burn weeds. She burned 1,000 years of isolated evolution.
The funeral of a village. That's what this field had been, and she'd held the match.
I am not just fighting for restitution. I am fighting for her memory.
He called his attorney. I have something that changes everything. Meet me. 2 weeks later, an FBI agent slid a stack of printed emails across the table. One subject line read, "Terrorist plot on Oak Lane." The agent tapped the screen. She called your farm a terrorist plot. That's not HOA overreach. That's ethnic targeting. 3 Muslim neighbors had come forward with affidavits. Christine had called their prayer gathering un-American, and their garden a threat to property values.
It was never about grass. She was cleansing the neighborhood of anything foreign, and my Saffron was the biggest target.
The federal prosecutor leaned forward. If we add hate crime enhancement, she's looking at 20 years. But we need you to tell your grandmother's story on the stand.
20 years. For a woman who thought she was pulling weeds. But if that's what justice requires, I'll tell it. Her photo will be on every screen. The world will see what Parvin carried through revolution checkpoints.
The prosecutor slid a memo across the table. We can arrange a joint press conference with the State Department. You tell the story your way. Then we indict.
I'll do it, but my grandmother's photo goes on the podium. The world doesn't just learn the crime. They learn the legacy she tried to burn.
He walked out carrying the evidence folder, the affidavit copies, and the photograph of Parvin Karimi, the image that would soon change everything. In his study, Charles scanned his grandmother's photograph. The faded sepia image would soon be on every news feed.
The world needs to see her, the woman who carried a village across the ocean.
His attorney called. State Department approved the briefing. The room would be ready by morning. He stood before the bathroom mirror and rehearsed the first line. He would speak to the world.
In 1979, my grandmother stepped off a plane carrying bulbs no one else had. The heart of a forgotten village.
He arrived at the hotel conference center. Cameras were being cabled, flags draped. Mid-rehearsal, his phone rang. Christine's lawyer offered a civil settlement. No criminal record.
No deal. Tell Mrs. Baldwin she'll face the world like she faced my field, without a mask.
He taped the photo of Parvin to the podium, a label beneath it reading 1979. The press advisory had gone out. Saffron field fire, personal and diplomatic cost to be revealed. The ballroom filled. Charles stepped to the microphone, his grandmother's photo taped beside him.
This is Parvin Karimi. She carried these corms from Iran in her pocket, the heart of a lost village.
He read from an email, "Keep our neighborhood American. No foreign weeds."
She called it a weed. He held up a charred corm. This was my grandmother's heartbeat, a line lost to science.
The room gasped. The Iranian attaché rose, calling for accountability. Journalists shouted over camera flashes about the $8 million cancellation.
This wasn't about grass. It was about erasing something foreign. That's hate, not landscaping.
A reporter's voice cut through. Will Christine Baldwin face federal prosecution? Charles paused. Tears brimmed. He didn't answer. The silence was the loudest sound in the room. Off stage, the lead prosecutor's hand rested on the indictment binder. The next move was already set. The press conference footage exploded online. Within hours, the photo of Parvin Karimi was viewed millions of times. Protests formed outside the HOA office. Signs read, "Justice for Saffron," and "Hate Hurts Trade." 48 hours later, the federal prosecutor held his own briefing. The banner behind him read indictment. He announced charges: arson, sanctions evasion, and a hate crime enhancement based on a pattern of bias. Christine saw her name on the news crawl. Baldwin indicted. The magenta sweater she wore was now a symbol of hate.
They're coming. They said federal, but I never thought. Not like this.
2 FBI agents knocked on her door. She opened it, and they showed her the indictment. She didn't speak. They cuffed her wrists, and the orange jumpsuit replaced the magenta sweater. Her mugshot hit the evening news. The woman who burned weed was now a federal defendant. Neighbors watched from behind curtains. Some cried, others looked vindicated. The call came from state. They asked him to advise on restoring the agricultural trade channel. His expertise was now critical. The Iranian attaché requested a private meeting. He said, "Mr. Karimi, you are a bridge between our peoples."
If my grandmother's corms can rebuild trust between our countries, I'll serve in any capacity I can.
Behind closed doors, they drafted a new memorandum of understanding for agricultural trade. The old contract was void, but this one would honor the Karimi strain. State Department's official statement. The fire exposed a crucial diplomatic channel. We intend to rebuild it, stronger.
From ashes, a bridge. Parvin would never have imagined her bulbs becoming a diplomatic tool.
At a small ceremony, Charles shook hands with the attaché and signed on as a consultant. The new agreement carried a clause recognizing the unique genetic line of the Karimi saffron.
Protect them. Those were her last words to me.
He walked out holding the signed paper. The weight of legacy and diplomacy balanced in one folder. The trial of Christine Baldwin began on a Tuesday. The gallery was packed with journalists and saffron growers. The prosecutor held up the email chain. Every racist line was read to the jury. Foreign weed, immigrant's garden, terrorist plot.
They don't understand. It was a lawn violation. I was just protecting property values.
The jury deliberated for 2 hours before sending word. The room held its breath as the foreman rose. Guilty on all counts: arson, sanctions evasion, and hate crime enhancement. The word echoed like a final stamp. The judge addressed the court. This court recognizes the unique cultural and diplomatic loss. You are sentenced to 10 years in federal custody.
My grandmother Parvin believed in new soil. She carried hope across an ocean. Today, justice means her hope wasn't erased.
Christine Baldwin was cuffed again. Her last look wasn't defiance. It was a hollow understanding of the weight she now carried.
4 years until I can even replant. But the world finally knows why that field mattered.
The gavel fell. Christine Baldwin would not see the sun for a decade. Outside, a cold rain began to wash the ash away. A week after the verdict, Charles returned to the field. The rain had softened the ash into a dark paste.
4 years to harvest. But today I plant the first corm of the rest of my life.
Inside the container were 30 tiny corms, descendants of the Karimi strain, preserved in a seed bank.
These are her children, the exact same genetics that survived a revolution.
He placed the first corm in the soil, then another, row by row, each one a private ceremony. Weeks passed. Every morning, he checked the rows, waiting for something the fire had promised was impossible.
Then, one dawn, a single green needle broke the surface. Dew shimmered on its tip. Welcome back.
More shoots followed. A green constellation in the black. The genetic line was not lost. He laughed, the first time in months, and knelt to touch one, feeling the life that had outlasted the fire. 4 years passed, and on the 5th autumn, the field was no longer black. Purple blooms stretched to the horizon. Charles established the Parvin Karimi Saffron Scholarship. The first recipients received their awards in a quiet ceremony. He invited those students to the farm, walking them through the rows, showing them how a spice could carry a culture.
Each flower gives 3 crimson threads. Saffron is the most expensive spice on earth, but for me it's more. It's a bridge.
At the field's edge, a bronze plaque was unveiled in memory of Parvin Karimi, who crossed oceans with hope in her pocket. A student asked what his grandmother had taught him.
She taught me that roots matter, but so do blooms. A flower can grow anywhere if you give it care and respect.
That afternoon, the wind moved through the saffron like a purple sigh, as if Parvin herself had knelt among them. Christine Baldwin served the first year of her sentence. But in the field, the only judgment was the harvest, and it was abundant. One quiet morning, Charles walked to the old cemetery at the edge of the farm, a bundle of fresh saffron in his hand.
Parvin, the field is back. The same purple you carried in your pocket now grows on American soil.
He pulled her letter from his jacket, the ink faded, but still readable. He read it silently one last time. He pressed the letter to his lips, then folded it carefully and tucked it beneath the plaque in the field.
She said, "Protect them." I did, and now they protect a future.
Inside the farmhouse, the renewed Iran contract hung framed on the wall, a seal and a signature testifying to the rebuilt bridge.
A woman with a flare tried to erase us. Instead, she made Parvin Karimi's name permanent.
He stepped outside. The sun was setting over the field, the purple blooms catching the last light like a slow-burning fire.
Thank you, Mamani. Your roots are safe, and they're still growing.
He walked into the field until he was just another bloom among thousands. The legacy now as deep as the soil. Christine Baldwin will be eligible for parole in 2030. Her appeals have been denied. She will be 64 when she sees the world again. The magenta sweater was folded into an evidence box years ago. But the saffron, it blooms every October, on schedule as if the fire had never happened. The plaque remains. The scholarship sends 3 students to university every year. The first recipient, a young Iranian-American woman studying agricultural genetics, now works in the same lab that verified the Karimi strain. Charles still walks the rows at dawn. Occasionally, he speaks to the flowers in Farsi, the few words his grandmother taught him. The house where Christine once stood with a flare now belongs to a family who grows saffron in their backyard garden. The international trade channel, once severed by a single flare, now moves 30 tons of American saffron annually. The story of the fire is taught in agricultural programs as a case study in genetic preservation and hate crime law. Some things cannot be burned. Some roots run too deep. The plaque carries one name. The scholarship carries hundreds. The saffron carries an entire village's memory. Students from 3 continents now walk those rows, learning that a spice can be a bridge from ash to bloom, through federal court to international trade. This field proves that destruction is not the final word. A time-lapse shows the field through winter, spring shoots, and the first October bloom, a heartbeat restored. Parvin Karimi's pocket held 5 corms. Now a nation exports 30 tons. That is the mathematics of faith. And the woman who lit the flare, she lit a truth she never intended, that hate cannot outlast a seed. So, the question isn't what was burned. The question is, what are you protecting across generations? And are you planting something worth growing? Share this story. If you believe some roots are worth defending, subscribe for more stories of ordinary people who refused to be erased. HOA. Karen burned my saffron field. Iran just canceled their $8 million order